I'm so excited to watch Arcane Season 2. I sure hope nothing bad happens. I sure hope everyone gets to have a great time. Also, I finished the Penguin finale. Here's how that went. Arcane Season 2 is finally here. Just like everybody else, I am so incredibly excited to see how this all comes to an end. 2 seasons is kind of sad, but you know, I take a full story. This is what they envisioned, this is what they want to do. I am all for it. There's so much greatness here, so much to talk about, and I don't have all the time in the world, unfortunately. I wish I did. Story, really interesting, really good, very rapid. They're flying through like 5, 6, 7 different ideas and trying to weave them all together nicely and cohesively. So far, with the 3 episodes, Act 1, they're doing a great job. A lot of surprises, a lot of developments. My friends and I have guessed only a snippet of some of this stuff and are very shocked that a lot of other stuff is rearranged. So it's keeping you on your toes. It's not an easy thing to guess, especially with some very out of left field revelations, which, bravo. This season looks as gorgeous, if not better, than the first season. I want to put emphasis on the facial emphasis. I feel like there's a bit more humanness, a bit more subtlety to the facial expressions. It's not as over-exaggerated or animated as the first season, which is not a bad thing. That is their charm / characteristic. Those facial expressions feel a little bit more grounded this season. The wrinkle of cheeks and eyes and swelling, crying, mouth movement, everything feels small and purposeful and powerful. Everything else feels very beautiful, very grand, very creative. A lot of depth of field. Even new types of art styles with the little montages that they do. Sound design is superb. The music, beautiful. Especially the one song towards the end of episode 3 and the big fight that happens. Bone-chilling choice. And of course, can't forget the voice work. Everyone's performance in this season feels elevated, feels insane. There's so much range, there's so much emotion, and you can really feel that coming across. It hits, it hurts, slaps you right in the core. They have poured their soul into this work, and it is reflected perfectly. I start here because she is my favorite character. Jinx is an anomaly, a storm. And there's so much riding on her story and Vi's story and everyone else's story and how they all kind of rotate around Jinx as this pillar. I was so curious, and I'm still curious, on how they approached her character and where they plan to take her character. The first 3 episodes for me have almost entirely recontextualized the importance of Jinx's humanity. There's this big, direct attention to Jinx's out of controlness, that she is insane, that she is psychotic, and the first season builds all of that up very dramatically. Second season recontextualizes it, brings it back down to earth instead of it flying out of control, which you wouldn't be wrong to think that before release. Instead, it has touched ground. Humanized Jinx. It has flatlined her out a lot more, and for me what this provides is a ton of range and a ton of depth. She is a very complex character, and the further this story goes, the more we explore her mind, her emotions, and how she acts within this story. You see it rotating and changing and conflicting and being one side and then jumping over to another. She's never sitting still, and I think that is a very important thing that they showcased. Because by the end of it, you come out thinking something else. That she's not a lost cause. That all the things that Vi or Caitlyn or anyone else has said about her is not entirely true. Not to the extent that they push it onto her. If anything, at this moment, it is the most crucial to connect with her. And funny enough, there are 2 people that are supplying very opposite outputs. The first is Savika, which is an odd choice, but makes perfect sense. They get along really well, funny enough, even with everything they've been through. Seeing their connection through Silco, which is a common emotional compound, bringing them together through him and that tragedy and that trauma makes them feel like siblings, that they have experienced the same grief and now they can finally relate. And what this opens up is a relationship that Jinx has never had before, a back and forth, someone that's on a very similar wavelength to her that is willing to get stuff done. The other character is a young girl called Isha. This is where things get very, very interesting because Isha is oddly obsessed with Jinx, and for good reason. Jinx randomly protected her in a time of need, and since then Isha has been doting on Jinx as an older sister. Now you might think that sounds very familiar. Where have you heard that before? For me, Isha is the representation of Powder, what Jinx used to be. And now you're playing the role of opposites. So for the first time, Jinx will be an older sister to her younger self, or Isha. She will get to experience the role that Vi played. And that is a powerful perspective to have, something that Jinx has never experienced before, because she has been alone this entire time, seeing and experiencing through the eyes of her sister Vi, now being the big sister to Isha, seeing the attachment and the emotional response from a young character that perhaps could remind her of herself is incredibly potent. And of course, Vi is also playing an opposite. Caitlyn and Vi have such a wild run over 3 episodes. Firstly, Caitlyn loses her mother, so she's going through grief and trauma and really trying to figure herself out, and it's not going well. You know what I mean? Like, she is in a bad spot. And at the same time, Vi is kind of a common reminder and a reflection of the death of her mother, because it's coming from the underground and specifically her sister Jinx, so they share the same blood. It's a very difficult situation. At the same time, they're struggling to juggle their romantic interest between each other. So it heightens and it peaks and they try to support each other, but quickly it comes crumbling down. So you get your beautiful lesbian action. Finally, they actually get to kiss, but then in the next 10 minutes, they're at each other's throats. It's toxic and very much sad to see, because realistically these two can heal each other. That's kind of the point, finding their opposites that could perhaps heal them. The same way Jinx was alone, but is now oddly building her little family. Because of this, however, Caitlyn and Vi share a lot of common ground. You get a nice build up and context, texture for their relationship, and how that puts Vi in a position to become an enforcer, which I shouldn't have to explain just the difficulty of that choice to begin with. The experience that Vi and Jinx have gone through from enforcers is horrendous, and now she's becoming one. The point is swallowing that history, that trauma, that pain that caused Vi and Jinx rift to begin with, because she understands that Caitlyn means so much to her, alongside hunting down her own sister. That's a big decision to make, a very powerful one, and it hurts to see it all just unravel, just falls apart in front of your eyes. Caitlyn spirals rapidly, but she also gets manipulated by a third party, and this is because Caitlyn is a cameraman and has a lot of value and power to the household name. She can control a lot of things, but personality-wise, emotionally, she's just not in a good position. She has no one to talk to. She has a ton of anger. She is spiraling out of control, and she's being manipulated. There's realistically nothing that you can do other than slap her in the face and try to get her to see reason or clarity. Remember, she is angry. She has a personal grudge, and now she has power to try and achieve that personal grudge. Not much, if anything, is going to stop her. So in the most crucial moments, what they go through together, it all just fragments and shatters in front of your eyes, and it's heartbreaking to see, because the person that Caitlyn is turning into is constantly reminding Vi what happened to her as a child. The trauma that she swallowed is now rapidly coming back up, and now she's experiencing that opposite, what Jinx went through all those years ago. Vi is now alone. She has no one that she knows or cares about that is supportive of her, and she too will change and spiral. Eren Moses Jaeger is basically what Victor has become, and I'm very, very curious to see his character evolve, because the man has been through a lot, and the guilt that he's currently facing, the visions, the voices, the pain that's associated with his transformation is vital, critical, crucial to truly get into his head with what he plans to do. And it's hard to pinpoint, right? Because you see him and he's changed. He's not the same Victor. The way he talks now, his demeanor is a reflection of his experience. Even the visual representation of Moses parting the sea, healing people, cleansing them from their ailments, feeling like he is the person that needs to be their savior. His connection with magic and the arcane overall is wild to see, and I think is going to play a big hand into connecting the broader universe of Arcane stories. So once this comes to a close, I wouldn't be surprised if Victor or even his actions are seen elsewhere in other stories, the next story for the Arcane universe, so to speak. This is a very interesting trio. I like them. Jace, Echo, Heimerdinger. I didn't think they would come together the way that they do, and even though it's a small amount of time, what they come in contact with and what they experience is crazy. So they come in contact with a wild rune, and this thing is like untapped arcane magic potential, right? But it's so encroaching on the story because it's such a big mystery, such a big unknown element that you just don't know where it's going to go. Is it like a nuclear bomb? Is it going to change everything? We know what messes with the hex core and the hex tech weapons, etc. So how much of an influence is this thing going to have? And Jace is out here touching this thing, fondling it, having some visions of things that they should and shouldn't do. So is this going to put him and Victor at a point of conflict? Because as much as I love their gay little bromance that they got going on, which is very sweet and sad and tragic that they had to depart, now we're seeing like two very different sides of the same coin. Victor helping and aiding people using the arcane, and this wild rune perhaps being a horrifying reflection of it. Cute trio, I like them and excited to see what other shenanigans they get up to. Mbessa is definitely a standout in here. The way she goes through things with Mel and Amara and all of the kind of craziness that she caused, she's like the whole reason half of this stuff goes really, really bad. And because at the heart of it, she's a warmonger, but not pure evil. Mbessa has this weird affliction to her family where she's very, very overprotective, but she does things in a way that will put her family in danger just so she can protect them. Kind of an odd way to go about it, but she has the power and the influence to do it. But at the same time, she's also searching for something within Piltover. We don't know what that is, but power that she's currently occupying within is going to lead her down that path. However, she doesn't know that her daughter, Mel, has currently been kidnapped by some mysterious forces, so I assume that's going to set her over the rails. And for the first time, you're going to see Mbessa go to war. You thought she was originally, without knowing Mel was kidnapped? Sure, but now she's going to get herself personally involved. And she's going to bring terror. She's going to bring utter destruction. And honestly, I'm all for it. She's a curveball within this story and how she's manipulating the enforcers and taking control of them, appointing Caitlyn as like head chief and general, which is crazy with the anger that she has. And Mbessa knows it. She's utilizing and weaponizing it perfectly. It's almost like a hostile takeover. This is what she does. I am very, very excited to see where this story goes, what Act 2 brings and what the finale brings. I will have separate videos for each act, probably in a similar fashion to what this is. Also, love the new set of characters. She has an odd infatuation with police brutality and corruption. Good for you, girl. I love this character design, think they're amazing, and I believe the voice actor is trans, so even better. With all the new characters introduced or more being played upon, I think all of them done a wonderful job. Absolutely phenomenal. As much as I am excited, I am nervous, and you probably all are too.